Hi, welcome. Halton here, and I'm hanging out with my good friend Anthony Avillo. And Anthony and I have been kicking around for God over 25 years at least, right? I can't
Yeah.
hear you. I lost your audio, Anthony.
Did you? How
Oh,
about
you
now?
now you're back. Good,
Okay.
good. So yeah, like 25 years, right, man?
Yeah, easily 25 years. Yeah,
So
definitely.
Anthony's my guest today on the National Fireman's Journal podcast, and really proud to have him. The National Fireman's Journal podcast is a takeoff on the National Fireman's Journal, which was the original name of fire engineering. And so I don't think there's any, and it's called Devoted to the Interests of the Firemen of the Country, and it was back in 1877. And I still think it's cool. As a matter of fact, over my shoulder there, that plaque you can see with the two pictures, that's the very first edition of the mag of the National Fireman's Journal. And so I can't think of a guy really. There's a lot of great guys, but you've always been as a buddy, and I'll blow a little sunshine up your pipe so you'll be nice to me on the podcast. But you've always been interested in like everything, you know what I mean? And about the fire service and um, and we've been kicking around a long time. I mean, we were both teaching at FDIC as dopey
Right.
kids, and we were both like lieutenants or something. I don't know if we were,
Hmm.
we were just kids. You had
Yeah.
hair, and
I was just gonna say you had darker hair and I had hair.
right, you had hair, and I had dark hair, right, right, and right. Now we're both old farts. But
Yeah, it's amazing how fast that goes, Bobby.
so you grew up in Jersey, right?
I did. Yep. Grew up in Hudson County, place called North Bergen, which everybody thinks is in Bergen County. It's actually in Hudson County. Um, I got on in the Weehawken Fire Department in 1984. Interesting story. When I took the application, there were no more applications in North Bergen, and all my friends took a test for North Bergen. And my cousin was a captain there, and he said, "Go over to Weehawken. It's the same exam. Put your name down for North Bergen, but put down for Weehawken too. Sometimes they take off the county list." And I got hired in Weehawken, and North Bergen had a hiring freeze. Nobody got hired. So that was 84, and then 99 we merged into North Hudson Regional Fire, which is the much bigger 350-man department, which I'm proud to say was, listen, I'm really proud of the Weehawken Fire Department. That really set the template for what North Hudson Regional became, and again, by the strength in the hand of Ed Flood, that's really kind of where that department went. But I'm out 5 years now, and you can't believe how fast that goes.
Yeah, your whole career goes by in the blink of an eye. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you hate to tell guys that, but um, life's a funny thing, man. You're in the middle of it, and it's going 100 miles an hour, and the next thing you know, you're stepping back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Well,
just
you can't tell guys anything. You tell them, well, listen, it goes by in the blink of an eye. Make sure you enjoy it. It's like the same thing saying, make sure you bring extra gloves and an extra sweatshirt during the winter. And nobody listens to it until they get caught. Once they get caught, they say, hey, you know what? That guy was right. It's freaking cold out here.
oh yeah, yeah. So so I love where you were working. I love all the work you've done. I mean, you've been involved in everything: engine company, strategy, tactics. Had a bunch of great jobs. But what's important about kind of like where you just took it about telling guys, hey, you come to work, make sure you got an extra sweatshirt, make sure you got an extra pair of slacks, make sure you got extra socks, extra underwear, because not only you might catch an extra shift, you might pull an overtime shift,
Hmm.
but you get jammed up or slopped out, you got something to slip into, right? A backup set of clothes. I remember a long time ago, I was thinking about getting on the job, and my uncle who was on the job, older guy, and actually he was out of Fort Lee. He was a volunteer out of Fort Lee. My uncle Matt, and
Okay.
my cousin Matthew is still he runs Jet Clean or something. He's him and his boys up there out of Fort Lee. But we used to have Halton's Hardware right there on the corner. Remember that? It was
No, I don't remember that. Wow.
oh, it was right
Holton's
there on the
Hardware?
corner.
Wow.
My uncles owned a hardware store, and me and my old man would go. We'd help out and such. Anyway, long story monotonous. But I remember my uncle Matt telling me, he says, listen, when you finally get on the job, because I would go to all the fire, buff out as a kid, watch my uncle fight
Hmm.
fire. He'd say, the most important thing, get the people's underwear. Get their underwear and any medicine. Get their medicine, get their underwear. And I was like, underwear. He said, yeah, you can wear the same pants, you can wear the same shirt, but underwear matters. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
he was right. He
Yeah.
was
Oh,
exactly right.
absolutely.
And what was important about the job, and still is important about the job, the underlying current there is dignity. No man
Hmm.
or woman wants to be wearing the same shorts, you know, 3, 4, 5 days in a row. You know what I mean? In a pinch, you can go a couple, 2, 3 days. But
Hmm.
it's like when you talk to guys that were in the army and had to go outside the wire, or nowadays they call it going down range.
Right.
They'll go out for 2, 3 weeks, or whatever, and then they wear, and they always bring a couple pairs of shorts, but they tell you, after 4 or 5 days, you can't wait to get that stuff off, right? And
Yeah. Well, it's like at the FDIC when you realize you didn't bring enough of them.
been
You're there
there.
7 days. You're there 7 days. You're like,
So
I thought I packed more underwear.
I can't remember who we were racking with one time. So you remember back in the day, you'd go to FDIC with like 8 people, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you jam into one hotel room. And I
Hmm.
remember stealing somebody's shorts because I was out.
Yeah. We
I was
we
out.
drove across we drove across from New Jersey. We'd leave at like 4 in the morning. Mike Master would be driving. He'd drive the whole way because he didn't want anybody else to drive.
Oh no, you
Joey
don't.
Alvarez, Jimmy Weiss, all those guys. And we would come from New Jersey, drive 13 hours to Indianapolis, piled up with gear and clothes and, just like to me, those were the best memories for me of the FDIC. Those first years when we did the hands-on search and we had the morning fight, and just just
Yeah,
just a lot of fun.
you know,
Yes, I stole their underwear too.
I'll tell you right now, these are the good old days. You know what I mean? I don't care where you are. I don't care what you're doing, because we had a great time at FDIC. They were wonderful, and I wouldn't trade them for a minute. But when you think about the stuff we're getting to do right now, like
Hmm.
kicking around, teaching, training, we're still working with our volley jobs. Still, I'm working with my buddy. He runs Rogers Emergency Management. I'm getting to check out some of the stuff they're doing. I get to kick around with the Tulsa guys. I get to, you know,
Yeah.
it's like these are the good old days, man. And the guys I'm hanging out with, fire service has never been better. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And the thing
Yeah.
I like about what's going on right now, I wouldn't. There's a great passage from Henry V, or Henry I rather, from Shakespeare, and he talks about, he hears one of his guys, his cousin of his, talking about, well, we're outnumbered. It's right before the Battle of Anacourt, which was on the Feast of St. Crispin's, and
Hmm.
and the French have them outnumbered, like 20 to 1. They're going to get slaughtered, and it's a true story. It rains real bad. The French had all this horses and armor, and they go riding into the mud. They get stuck in the mud. The English come and just cut their throats. But anyway, the night before the battle, Shakespeare envisions, Henry talking to the men and overhearing his cousin saying, "I wish there were more guys." And Henry gets says, "No, I don't wish there was one more guy, because then thus the glory, right?
Right.
Right now, people are going to remember our names, Exeter and Windsor, and they're
Hmm.
gonna they're gonna tell stories about us. And men at home in England will hold their manhood less proudly, when the Feast of St. Crispin's is talked about, right?
Hmm.
That's the way I feel about right now. We're in tough. This is going to be things are jacked up, partially
Yeah.
because of the virus, partially because of our reaction to the virus. But the budgets are going to be jammed up. Oil. They're giving oil away. I
Yeah. I know. How
went to the gas
crazy is
station
that?
to come say, just fill up your car for free.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Give you a bowl of soup.
yeah, right. So we're heading into some uncharted waters. We're heading
Mm.
into some difficult times. This is the chance for real leaders to stand. This is a chance for guys and gals on the line to really be legends. You know what I mean? This is the time when this is the time that's going to cull the herd from the sheep and the sheepdogs. From
Yeah.
the, you know what I mean? Guys like you
Yeah, no, I agree. Listen, the fire services, we're just one of the, we step up, the great leadership that we have, the camaraderie, we solve problems. We see things they are. It was the same thing all through history, I mean,
Civil War, World War I, World War II, the
yes,
Great Depression.
9/11, the whole thing, and we solve problems. And again, that's exactly what we're doing. We're solving problems. We will survive. We'll be better for it after this is all over. But
Exactly
I
right.
think we'll also be a little smarter about
Exactly
things.
right.
You
As they
know?
as they'd say in the Bronx, forget about it.
Forget about it.
Forget
Forget
about
about
it.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we'd be a little smarter about things.
Yeah.
And it's great because you were talking about like there are so many people out there now that like the younger generations that are starting to grab the ball and move forward. And you know what it is? The enthusiasm and the motivation that I see in these people is
Oh,
like it was sort of like when we did the tactical perspective DVDs. It was my first experience with Frank Ritchie, who I knew a little bit, but I never had met Pepler and PJ and Jim Duffy and all the Chris Tracy, all the guys from Connecticut, and the motivation and the excitement. It just made my blood boil again for the business. And I think those are the things sometimes that you need. You need to find people and find the ways to get your blood going and to you know cause a resurgence in your interest in this business. Because it does ebb and flow a little bit.
so,
And there are a
so
lot of people out there doing that right
there are
now.
great people out there doing it. You
Yeah.
talk about those guys. So last year at FDIC, I'm kicking around, and these cats are running this new world fire ops class, young cats,
Mhm.
and Chris Tobin and
Mhm.
I'm forgetting the lead guy's name, not Hoffman, but I'll think of it in a second. Don't get old.
Yeah.
And the memory's not the first thing to go,
No.
no matter what they tell you. Yeah,
And
Prevagen comes after
God.
Cialis. So anyway, um, I stopped by this class, right? I never met. Well, I never met. I met that day some of the most hard charging, locked in, decent. I mean, these kids, they blew me away, man. I didn't want to leave. I just wanted to hang out with them. The energy from those guys was like
Yeah.
contagious, man. And it wasn't, hey, look at me crap. You know what I mean? None of
No.
them were the hey, look at me guys. They were all like, man, one of the cats there, it's a true story, and I can't remember his name, man. But and I apologize to those kids. If they're watching now, I apologize. But the kid probably be glad I don't remember his name. But the kid was out of Louisiana, right? So he built this prop, man, inside this can, and it's like fantastic. I'd never seen some of the things he put together, like an attic, entry deal. So when you're doing a stud entry, then
Mhm.
then you can do the stud entry, then you go into the attic, all the places where our SCBA gets jammed up, right? And he built it in such a way that it was just brilliant, right? Anyway, and the kid, I found out, they said, oh yeah, well, he drove all the way up from Louisiana to fill in for this other guy who couldn't
Mhm.
make it, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, wow, that's great. And he goes, oh yeah. And he's going to leave right after the class because he's taking care, he just adopted his sister's kid. His sister got jammed up with drugs or whatever, whatnot.
Mhm.
And he's got no money or nothing. And so he's got to race back because he's got this kid or kids that he's taking care of now. And he just came in to fill in for us. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. We didn't fly him. You know, he wasn't making any money. He came up to do it. And when he was talking to me, he wasn't crying, oh, Chief, I'm broke and I'm raising, my sister's
Mhm.
kids. He never said a word. Never
No.
said a word. And here's this guy, you know, here's a guy who we ought to be taught. People ought to know this kid's name. I mean,
Mhm.
that's a firefighter. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. It's again the love of the job, the love of the
oh,
tradition, the understanding of the roles and responsibilities of this business, and that's what I'm starting to see from it's just starting over the last like 2 or 3 years. It's some of these younger guys are starting to bubble out of the foam, and
well,
like
but
it's
that's the first of us. We're always
great.
bubbling up. It's so when I first got this seat like 15 years ago, I thought, where am I going to find people? I've never had to worry. Every
No.
year, every year, 200-300 guys and gals bubble up.
Hmm.
It,
Yeah.
this job just attracts the greatest folks in the world, man. Just the
Hmm.
greatest folks in the world.
Yeah, I think there are people all over the place, like, and they're just making a difference, making a difference now, and a lot of it's interesting. A lot of it is sort of new slants on the hands-on. A lot of things with the UL study things, but sort of like swinging the pendulum back a little bit towards aggression, but smart aggression,
So,
and I'm seeing a lot of great stuff out there.
so I got a different perspective on the UL stuff than most people. Like a lot of people say, oh, you got to make science-based decisions. Well, actually, this whole freaking virus thing proved that no, you don't, because
Hmm.
they don't take into account the like spikes, the anomalies, the things that just happened here. You know, they don't go to what's called the fat tails, right, where weird shit happens. There was a guy named Glick who said self-organizing natural systems are weird and unpredictable. And he was talking about things like fires. That's a self-organizing natural
Right.
system. Fire burns shit down, it releases, makes everything, you know, back to its basic elements. And he said, strange shit happens on the boundaries. No kidding,
Yes.
man.
The
Because
wild card.
and that's a fat tail, right? That's a fat tail. So
Yeah.
on the boundaries, strange shit happens. And we've all been at fires where,
Mhm.
okay, I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the
Wow.
difference,
That
right?
wasn't supposed to happen.
So I don't care how many times you do a controlled study and see
Mhm.
what happens when the guys go down the hallway with the fuel look. I don't care. It's great. It's great for scenario planning, but that's
Mhm.
all it's good for. You know what I mean? You still got to trust this and this, you know,
Yeah.
and you got to get some experience and some gut. And
I
every now
agree.
and then, shit's gonna go wrong, and people are gonna get hurt and killed, and we got to try to figure it out, right? But
Absolutely. Listen, you know, the whole recognition prime decision making, the experience, things like that. I agree. And what's interesting is that the more I read in these UL studies, the more I said, yeah, you know what though? Over all the years that we've been doing this, if we've been doing it right. We've been coordinating it properly,
that's
that sort of thing, you know. The
well,
transition attack, I get that. I understand where it needs to be done and things like that. I don't think it's so all inclusive. Remember when we said the one guy who wanted to do everything from the outside? I said, let's just put his class in the parking lot.
right. But
Like,
the problem with that is that those are the silver bullet kids, right? And
yeah.
guys, and there's no
Mhm.
silver bullets.
No.
So, but here's the deal: when you were talking about the testing in UL, we grew up when old man Clark, Bill Clark, was out doing the same thing. And old
Yeah.
man Clark went around. You read Principles and Practices by Bill Clark. That is still one of the best firefighting books out there, bar none.
Mhm.
Still is.
Yeah.
And what old Bill Clark did was after he retired, he went around the country. He was fire marshal here, fire marshal there. He was like in Minnesota, then he was in Florida. He was all over the place. And that guy did live fire after live fire after live fire. He did more live fire than probably anybody alive,
Mhm.
then or today, or then or now. Anyway, and he looked at shit and he kind of said, okay, I'm seeing this, I'm seeing that. But Bill Clark never lost his humility. He never went around
Mhm.
saying, do this, do that. He just told people, okay, this is what I'm seeing. You know, this is what I think you could do. What I think you
Right.
could do, right? Because as we were just talking about recognition prime decision making, a mistake is only a mistake in hindsight. When the guy
Yeah.
made it or gal made it, she thought it was going to work or she wouldn't have done it. You know
That's
what I mean?
exactly right.
Nobody
Yeah.
says, oh, I'm
Yeah.
going to do this and get jammed up. No, you do it because you think it's going to work, right?
No, exactly. Listen, and understanding that, you know what, and you said this yourself, and one of the things I took from you, it's actually in the third edition of the book about the wild card popping out of the deck. Every now and then that wild card's going to pop out. And, you know, again, it's something you're going to learn from, but you have to expect that. You have to expect that wild card to always be popping out of the deck. You hope it don't, but you got to kind of think outside that box a little bit, I think. And sometimes I think, you know, the science, while listen, it's science, but you know, listen, there's humidity, there's wind, there's all different factors that could play in there. And as an incident commander, as a firefighter, you got to be expecting those things as well.
It's necessary and it's interesting, but the model only tells you what's true in the model, not
Mm-hmm.
what's true in the real world. Yogi Berra once said that the guys were teaching him about theory, and they said that theory ought to work in practice, but he said in practice it doesn't.
You come to the fork in the road, take it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
Listen, do
So
you have this stuff written down like quotes all over your desk, or like, is this coming out of your head?
it's just out of my head.
Oh my God, that's scary.
Stop it. But you know me, man. It's like
Oh, I know, I
I
know,
live
I
in
know.
books.
No,
You
it's
know what I
great.
mean? Obviously, I love books, and this is
Yeah.
my lineup. Man, check this out. I'm gonna move my camera a second. This is my batter's box, man, for next week. All these books.
Oh, all right. So how long did it take you to read that?
I'll be done with those by next week. Sometime.
Really?
Yeah,
My God, you're an animal.
yeah. I love books. I love to read,
Ah, so do I. So
which
do
is a
I.
good thing
I
because
go read.
I'm an editor of 4 magazines, so it's kind of like
Yeah.
a good thing that I like to read. If I
Yeah,
didn't
I
like to
love
read,
reading.
I'd be
I'm
totally
reading.
screwed. And
I'm
people,
actually at this time. Actually, I'm writing the fourth edition. Now I got the time to do it.
and
I'm
then
actually
I got
writing.
to read that again.
Yeah, you're gonna have to read that again. I'm trying to pare it down, a little less tangent in it, and a little more non-fluff. And
So
I'm working on that.
talk about it. So fourth edition,
Yeah.
and strategy and tactics.
Hmm.
First, why did you write it?
Well, what happened was Peter Hodge was and I guess he was in charge of books at that time, or maybe FDIC. I don't remember exactly what, but
He was
an instructor
FDIC. Pete was
yeah, he was an
FDIC.
instructor at the Bergen County Fire Academy. And I had been doing scenarios and writing scenarios for a long time. And I said, I'd really like to put something out there, just a scenarios book. And he said, well, listen, somebody's they're looking to rewrite Mackinac. And the Mackinac book was strategic concepts. So I started writing that. And funny, I ran into Vinny Dunn because he's good friends with Kevin Malley at New Jersey City University. And I told him what I was doing. He goes, why would you write something and put somebody else's name on it? And around the same time, Mackinif's family they wanted a lot of money for the name. And Fire Engineering, I guess, said, listen, it's just your book now. So that's how the book sort of came around. Now, you're holding the first one, which you said you have used. That's the little one.
Well, no, I was going to say, you're talking about you were doing scenarios. So we always wonder, like where stuff came from. So I was going to show you this one. Remember this?
Oh, yeah, Freed.
Freed.
First book I ever read.
Right. And in the back, it's all scenarios.
Yeah. I got it right here.
Right. It's one of my favorite books. So I'm going to put this one back too. I got you.
Help.
I got you right.
Go and tell time.
I got you right next to Freed. Where's let's see. Yeah, where are you? You're in here somewhere. I'll find it so I can throw it out there. Now I got to read another one by you. I can't believe it. That's done. Where's Avillo? I got it here. So you're in my other office, I guess. You're actually because you're in fourth edition. Wait a second. You're in this shelf. Anyway, showing people my butt. Anyway.
Right,
so there we go.
This was being held together with rubber bands.
So go to page 3.
In
Mancini? Yeah, go to page 3. You'll have acknowledgments. Find his acknowledgments page.
I love his tactical truths.
But find the acknowledgments page. It's like page 3 or 4.
Opening too soon. Okay.
He has a list of names.
Mediocre day. Oh, here we go. Acknowledgments. Okay. Are you in here?
Yeah, right in the middle. Good thing you're not the editor. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, on the other page. I see it on the other page.
Yeah, thanks to the guys who helped put it together.
Yes. Very nice. I'll tell you what. This book has notes. Look, it's falling apart.
Oh, so look at this. These are
That's the scenarios workbook. That's the first one. That's flood on the cover.
That's one of my favorite. So these are all these freaking things. These are Bruno's manuscripts before they were Bruno's books.
Oh wow! Oh my goodness!
He would send them to me, and we went
customer
here,
service,
and then they became this.
I'll tell you what. Another story about him, which I'll tell you in a second. So we were leaving Tulsa after the editorial things.
The ice storm.
The ice storm. No. So we were leaving Tulsa, and the van pulls up, and a door opens, and Brunacini's sitting in the front seat, like the first bench seat. So I'm like, oh man. Because I talked to him, but only a little. This was an opportunity to talk to him for like an hour. I had Glenn Corbett was in the van. A bunch of other guys were in the van going to the airport. I think Murph was in the van. So I got a chance to go in there and sit with him and talk with him. And, he asked me about the strategies book. And he said, so you're in your third edition now. Like, he's so sharp, man. And he said, he goes, so yeah, and I said to him, like, well, I actually should have wrote last edition instead of third. He goes, well, why would you want to do that? I go, well, I'm retiring now. And in fact, I just retired. He goes, yeah, but it's your book. It's your information. Why wouldn't you want to continue using that? Are you still in the game? You're at this fire academy, blah, blah. So part of the dedication acknowledgments in this new book, which I haven't written that part yet, is going to be to Bruno, because he was the one that actually said to me, why aren't you going to write it? Like, give me a good reason why you shouldn't write it, and I never forgot that.
So that guy was so good to me. He was like a second dad. You know what I mean? He was always there for me. And I remember when Manning asked me to keynote FDIC, and I was like, man, I can't do that. That's, I wasn't ready. And Bruno was like, get your happy ass up there. You're going to do this. And he was just like I was backstage for you. He was backstage for me, and got me up there. I did my thing. It went fine.
Did he fix your tie?
No, he didn't fix my tie. I know how to tie a tie, for God's sakes. So who can't tie their own tie, honestly? So and we'll tell that story next. And then the minute I got off the stage, he grabbed me and he gives me this big ass bear hug, and he was like, you could tell he was so proud, of other. He was one of the few people in life that I've met that was always genuinely proud, much like yourself and other good firefighters, that are generally happy for other people's success. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they celebrate other people all the time. Their little successes, their big successes. They're always there. And he was always there. He was always, the first guy to tell you good job. He was always the first guy to, He was not the first guy, but I mean, he was always, he was always there. You know what I mean? And that was
no doubt. I
loved
his questions though too. Like he was a thinker, and he was a deep thinker, and he made you think deeply and think sort of bigger, I guess. Because I probably only had maybe 3 or 4 conversations with him, and he always made me sort of think a little bit more about what I was doing, because he would phrase something in a way that sort of made you say, I never looked at it like that. Tommy Brennan was the same way. But Tommy Brennan would frame those things in like a story. He said, you got time for a story, and the story would invariably turn into some sort of question.
Those 2 guys are the reason I'm here today, because I was a happy fire chief throwing cards in a hat, and fire engineering came to me, offered me this gig. And originally I turned it down, right? And I get a call from Brennan, and he's, back in the day when you had cord on the phone.
Yeah.
And I said, he goes, you freaking moron, you got to take that job, blah, 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 blah. He starts chewing my ass. And I said, Tommy, I don't know. He goes, I don't know if I should do it. He goes, okay, Holden, how many fire chiefs are there in the United States? I says, I don't know, like 30,000, 40,000. He says, right. How many editors of fire engineering? 1. Okay, genius, do that piece of math. All right. Keep screaming at me, right? So then I get a call from Bruno, and same thing. Holden, you jackass, take that job, blah, 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 right? Okay, blah, blah. I said, well, I just hung up with Tommy. I'm not sure I could do this. What if I fail? Bruno goes, then for the rest of your life, you can go around telling people you're the former editor of fire engineering, just like Tommy.
That's it. That's exactly right.
That's a true story. Right. Oh God, man. And then, then they made me sit in the middle between the 2 of them on stage, and they would just, tear me apart. The first time I did it,
firing out, right? Just firing, man.
Tear me up. And then, so the first time I had to do it, they said, we want you to get a list of questions over this, during the summer, because they told me like in the spring, we're going to get a list of questions. Okay, great. So I wrote down like 50 questions on index cards and, for them. So Brennan, they're looking over them at dinner, at lunch, before we go out on stage, right? Oh yeah, this is good. This is good. Oh yeah. Him and Bruno back and forth. Oh yeah, excellent, excellent, excellent. So we go walking out on stage, right? Brennan says to me, you got those cards? I said, yeah, I got them right here, for the questions, to ask them the questions. It's good. He takes them from him, goes, what? He hands them to Bruno. Bruno throws them, just throws them on the ground.
I knew it, man.
We don't use any damn questions, you idiot.
I knew you were going to say that, because that's so them, take the cards and I was just wondering which one of them was going to toss them.
Giant setup, a 6-month setup,
Oh my God. Yeah. That's great.
So you write the book, and when you look from the first edition, seriously, for a minute,
Mhm.
what are you putting into the fourth? I mean, what it's because here's the deal. Like we were talking about earlier, the fire service is constantly evolving. My
Yeah.
old man said, don't throw out your skinny ties. Ties can do one of two things: skinny, narrow, right? Wide, narrow. That's it. So the
Mhm.
fire service is kind of the same way. When you and I came in, there was a door control man. Now we're going back to doing that, right? You
Yeah.
know, we knew all about weather and how wind currents affected fire. There was in the coal was wealth size up. It was like one of the
Mhm.
first things you talked about. But that all went away when bunker gear got better. So we drift in and out of different tactical realities and different kind of uh, thought processes, if you will. And so if you're looking at first to fourth, what are some of the big ones that you think that we're drifting in and out of now?
Well, I think one of the things I actually have a list of this stuff over 3 or 4 years. I just start writing notes
We
down.
don't use any damn lists on this show, Avillo.
There you go. All right, I'm gonna throw it over there. Well, I think one of the things that I'm going to look at is use of mutual aid, use of coordinated mutual aid where people are actually working off the same page, almost regionalization without regionalization, common SOPs, common policies. One of the things like I got to think about, is departments have to understand their own normal operating reality,
Hmm.
in regard to what they can and what they can't do, because a normal operating reality is it prevents people from doing good things because it may prevent them from calling extra companies. It may prevent them from assigning guys to do ladder company work, because they don't have the personnel to do it, So if you understand your own normal operating reality, I think you can take a better look at what's missing, what can be put in, and where to go get it. That's one of the things.
I like that.
Yeah,
And I think you nailed it too. With it, it ought to be, for lack of a better word, somewhat regional, right? In other words, the
mhm,
operating reality for Hudson, North Bergen, whatever those groups are, is really important, right? And
yes,
it may not, some of those realities may not translate at all. When you get further down south in Jersey, down there, Wildwood and those places, because the operating realities there are different, right?
yes, and people have to understand what their normal operating reality is. It's just a wordplay on standard operating procedures, but it leads right into the adoption of standard operating procedures. Now, I went from a department where we had 10 guys on duty. I was a chief, and one was a pump operator, operating with 8 guys initially to start. But we did exclusive and extensive mutual aid. We had mutual aid policies. And then, I worked on a department that had 30 guys on a first alarm. And listen, if you know North Hudson, 30 guys on a first alarm is not enough when you're dealing with 2 exposures and windy conditions or buildings behind buildings and those sort of things. So I think people have to really kind of take a look at that. Um, Another thing I looked at, and it all sort of stems out of tactical reserve. I have an article this month called RATS. And now the RATS in Chicago is the rapid ascent team that they use in high rises. But for me, it's going to be the RIC assist team. And it comes from your tactical reserve. So what happens is you get a RIC
But that's a
activation,
great
right?
example of local, right? In Chicago, it's the rapid ascent team, and that's fine.
Yeah,
Because the odds of a North Bergen firefighter getting called on a mutual aid in Chicago are about zero.
probably zero. Yeah,
On the structural
probably
side, you
zero.
might get called out to a disaster or that kind of thing, but
Mhm.
to a structure fire, zero. So okay, so continue. I'm sorry.
So, well, North Hudson hasn't adopted the RATS thing, and I doubt they will because it came from me. But so what this is let's say you're at the command post, a Mayday is declared. The RIC team is going to work, right? Now, somebody like RIC team going to work is not the end all and be all. Somebody's got to help that RIC team. Most of the time, it's the guys inside the building fighting the fire if you have no control over the incident. But if you have this tactical reserve, right? So let's say I have 2 engines and a ladder standing behind me as my tactical reserve, and that doesn't happen all the time right away. But I'll turn around and I would say, okay, ladder 3, you guys are the RAT, which means if a RIC activation occurs, they would go over and they would immediately be standing by to assist the RIC team with equipment that they need, maybe with some way to remove barriers if they got to raise ladders, whatever it happens to be. But now these guys are committed to that. Other than that, I could still put them in the firefight. They're not committed to the RIC team unless the RIC team activates. If the interior division needs guys to pull ceilings, I'm going to grab that ladder company, put them in a building, and turn around to squad 2 and say, you guys are now the rat. I would expect them to go over, speak with the RIC team about what's happening, take a look at the command board. But, you know, I thought I stole this from somewhere, and I asked a lot of people about it, and Rick Lasky was the one that actually reviewed the article. He said, no, he goes, there's really nothing like this out there. It's not necessarily the blue card stuff and the on-deck stuff. He goes, this is different.
So I'll disagree just a little bit. What you did in your head was you took what a good fireground commander should. It's in Freed, it's in Clark. When you're getting ready to commit your last 2 companies, call another alarm.
Absolutely.
We always had that. Now you've taken that, and 2 things. You were smart enough to say we ought to be doing the same thing with RIT. You know, once you deploy your RIT, you better be supporting that RIT with some kind of formal system, right?
Right.
Which no one else has ever thought about before. I agree. But the other thing that struck me was only an Italian guy from Jersey would decide to call a team that's going to save people the rat team. Yeah, let's be the rat. I want to be the rat.
I didn't want to use that because I know the Chicago thing, and I like agonized over what else to call it.
It was like the firefighter. It was like the firefighter assistance and support, assistance and rescue team, the FART team. Remember?
Yeah, the FART team, right? FART team.
I'm on the FART team.
Did you see the thing yesterday that said that coronavirus could possibly be spread by farts if people are naked?
I'm all in. Apparently, according to the guys in Southern Cal and the guys in Stanford, like everybody has it already anyway. I mean, it's like 85% higher than because they're only testing the people who are coming in and they're symptomatic. But these guys apparently went out and tested like just regular people in the world, thousands of them, and they found it everywhere. And people didn't even know.
Yeah, you know, my daughter's at Penn State, and in February, she actually came home. She was so sick, fever, chills for like 3 or 4 days. And by the time she got home, she was actually pretty much over it. But she was so sick, I wonder if she had it. I was in Florida. I came back. I had a sore throat for like 4 days. You know, I had a little bit of a fever.
You might have had it. We all might have had it. I mean, it's amazing now, which is kind of an interesting thing too. When we talk about science and all that, you look at how that thing shifted. The basic underlying stuff for that thing shifted so much. So those original models were so deeply flawed. But again, the model only tells you what's true for the model. So that was true for the assumptions they made at that time, and they had to act on it. God bless the people who acted on it. I don't hold them in any disregard. You know, if you were in charge, if you were king of, you know, Jersey, you know, Governor Murphy or President Trump, and you got that information, you had to act. I mean, you couldn't not act on it, right? But now we know that the model was so flawed that it really, the good thing that came out of it is it makes us question all models, right? A model is only as good as the assumptions that went into it. And the same thing with the fire service. I mean, UL's doing great stuff, but as we talked about earlier, there's always that chance that something nobody ever thought of. The window was left open. The wall didn't have insulation in it, or had more insulation in it, or it had, you know what I mean? All the variables. There's no way in the world you're ever gonna, especially for firefighting. It's called a dynamically complex system, and there's just too many variables. But we can lay out, you know, best practice. SOP is a best practice. But at the end of the day, we got to assume that everything we're going to do is not going to work. That's the only way to go to work. Only way to go to work.
It's interesting you talked about with the model and about this virus. It's almost like a high-rise fire. You're front-loaded. You throw as much resources at it as you can because it might be bad, and you de-escalate it when you figure out that it's not.
Right. You know,
and
people are going to vilify people. People are going to say, "Oh, they didn't do this right, or they got that wrong." No kidding. They're people. We're human. Yeah. We're going to screw up. You know, that's why we got to fire.
They're trying to screw up.
If they had called 911 first and asked us what to do, we would have said, "Forget about it." We got it. No,
Yeah,
you know,
no, listen, it's a topic of the day, and there's so much conflicting information out there. There's a lot of panic, and the country needs needs a little pacification at this point, and hopefully that will come soon.
yeah, it will. I mean, the one thing that people always forget is never underestimate the courage and resolve of the American people. I mean,
Absolutely,
we're going to lead the
absolutely.
way. We're going to get our shit together again. We're going to lead the way in the world. We're going to pick it up. We're going to figure it out. Are we going to be hurting for a while? Sure. We're going to have to make some sacrifices. Absolutely. Is this going to be a cloud of fear we're going to live under forever? No. I love
No,
Dr. Fauci, but I'm still going to shake hands. I'm still going to hug. I ain't going to live in fear. I refuse. I
yeah.
refuse. God bless you.
Well,
You know,
listen, the biggest tragedy for the week is that the FDIC was postponed. We're actually doing we do St. Elmo's Tuesday nights, which is tonight. So at 9 o'clock, we're doing a virtual St. Elmo's shrimp cocktail party. Frank Viscuso, Combs, all the rest of the lunatics.
and so
We can include you on the Zoom session if you
as
like.
the designated adult at FDIC, I will not be attending.
I was just going to say we could include you if you like.
Okay.
It's not till 9 o'clock though.
You know me. I'm dad. I can't.
I know you are. You have to be.
I gotta be. Somebody's got to be dad.
You have to be.
I will
dad.
turn this FDIC around if you boys and gals keep acting up. So the Fools have me on Wednesday night because I always go to the bash and say a few words. And so the Fools are doing the same thing. They're doing a bash tomorrow night at like 6 o'clock when they would normally be,
Right.
doing their bash. And it's great. And we're doing tons of webcasts and we're doing things and such. But the thing with me is it's always about the future. It's always, you can't change the past. If you want to live in the past, good for you. You know what I mean? It's like people that hold grudges. God bless you. I'm not smart enough to hold a grudge. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Listen, it is what
I'm
it
not
is, and
stupid.
we'll come back stronger.
Yeah, I'm not stupid. I don't forget,
Mm-hmm.
when people, do bad things, but I don't hold it against you for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? I don't go, and people do that shit, which is crazy.
Oh yeah, no.
And
I absolutely
I get the kind of trying to figure out how to celebrate and stuff like that. But what you ought to do is you ought to make everybody get a real root of horseradish, right? And get a real root and a little white vinegar, mix it up in the blender. And just before you all start your thing, you all have to put your face in that bowl. You'll be crying. You'll have stuff coming out your noses, just like an
I
elbow.
might have to.
That stuff will, man, that stuff is brutal, man.
Yeah. Oh my God, it is. I love it though, man. Oh my God, dude, I love that cocktail sauce. Yeah, horseradish is vicious. It
So
really
listen,
is.
man, so you had an amazing career. You've written an amazing book. Joe Flood and you, I know you were really tight with Joe, who was just a great guy.
Ed Flood.
Joe. Who's Joe? There's a Joe Flood, too.
There is a Joe. That's the guy that wrote the book about the New York City with the RAND study.
Right. The RAND study, and he followed up on what Dr. Wallace and her husband wrote with Plague on Their Houses. He wrote the war year, the fire years or something.
Yes. Right? Yeah, good book.
Joe. That was Joe.
Yeah.
Right. Good guy, too. And Ed was a great guy. It's like, thank God you're Avillo. There's only one. Well, there's only
yeah,
one.
there's only one Avillo, and you're pronouncing it properly, which is after 25 years. I'm really proud of you. But but Ed Flood.
That this Irish guy. Us Irish guys intentionally screw up Italian names just to piss you off, right? No, seriously, it's like an Irish law. We do our secret Irish handshake and we meet in secret groups. We say, okay, you mess up an Italian guy's name recently? Oh yeah, okay, you're good.
There you go. Well, St. Patrick was Italian. You guys hate to hear that. I know that. That's the only comeback we got.
You're killing me.
That's it.
And there were no snakes in Ireland when he got there too.
Well, listen, it was just like with the index cards of Brunacini and Bruno. Two Italian guys. Brennan. No, Brennan wasn't Italian.
No, Brennan wasn't Italian.
He was Italian, yeah.
No, he wasn't Italian. No, he wasn't. This is kind of like Unplugged here right now.
Yeah, you're probably right.
We've devolved into that nonsense.
Yeah, well, that's okay. You know, see, every now and then I got to take you out of the daddy mode
No, you're killing me.
and bring you down into the mode of, you know, the lowly street urchins from Hudson County.
You know, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's but I'll tell you what. So FDIC will be back. You know, we're not. It's not dead, and
Hmm.
we got some plans going, and hopefully we'll be able to share them with everybody soon. And you know, a lot of great stuff happening. I mean, it's going to be a little different for a while, but the fire service is so resilient. We're so amazing, and this country's so amazing. I mean, you
Yeah.
know, you know, I laugh when you know every now and then one of my favorite things to tell people is a great quote where a guy said, "Children today, you know, they tyrannize their teachers. They have no respect for anybody. They eat their food. They don't sit down at the table. They talk in the gym. You know, they're so unlike children. You know, like when we grew up. You know who
Hmm.
said that? Plato. Freaking
Oh
Plato.
boy.
That was Plato. So we all go through a phase in our lives. And then Hitler said something really similar, all kinds of people. So as we go through life, when we hit our mid 40s, we're totally convinced that the kids today are going to destroy the world because we're raising them.
Yeah,
And we
of course,
see how people just are normally totally ungrateful for everything and
their
disrespectful.
sins are our sins.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
I thought you were going to say Dr. Seuss did that quote.
No, it's Plato. So it's a natural thing. And then when you get to be like my age, you realize hell, these kids are great, man. I look at these
Yeah.
millennials and now the kids behind the millennials. What do they call the kids behind the millennials? Oh, they got a
Oh
name for
God,
these
I don't
kids.
know.
Anyway, they got a new name for these kids. They're wonderful, man. Like the millennials are already in their 30s. They're already like
Yeah.
30, 35. They're old people. You know,
Hmm.
you talk to some kid who's, you know, 17 or 18, and you tell him the guy's 30, the guy's ancient, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The old guy. They'll call him the old guy. You know,
You're
it's
the
like in
old
the
guy, right? Man.
it's like in the military when you know some guys. Oh, the old man. Oh, who's the old man? He's 33. You're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you kidding
Exactly.
me? But
Yeah. I mean, my dad passed away at 42, and I remember like my dad used to say, "Okay, you're an old man." I was like 16, you know. I'm like, now I'm gonna be 59.
my old man passed away at 55, and we thought he was, you know, older than dirt. You know,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
and I'm a lot older than 55 right now. So, hey, what else? Did fourth edition's coming out? What else is going on? You're teaching? You're a professor now?
Yeah, well, I'm the director of Monmouth County Fire Academy. I'm actually in my office right now. We're suspended classes, but we do everything from firefighter one, and what's great too. We go around in some of the places I've gone and I've spoken in. We've pulled some of the things out. We have a great ventilation prop that we use here. We have this ceiling pulling prop that we're putting together that I found down in Texas. Um, but this is it's an interesting county. There are only 4 career departments. They're all very small. Everything else is volunteer, but they're starting slowly to get like, some paid drivers, some per diems, and um,
Is that the
this
school?
is very
Is Mike teaching with you there? Is that the school Mike's teaching at too, or is he teaching another school?
Nasta.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
no, no, no. Mike was at Bergen. I was at Bergen for 20 years.
Okay.
Now I'm down here at Monmouth. But Monmouth was kind of a Jersey Shore, like a sleepy Jersey Shore county.
Love
But
it.
it's big now, and it's starting to understand the younger kids coming into the fire service, starting to understand that, you know what, the job's different now. You have to have the information. You need to rely on mutual aid. We need to have common policies. And I'm starting to see especially at the officer ranks, I'm starting to see a nice groundswell of people that are taking advantage of what we're doing here at the academy for them, and turning it into successes and good discipline out on a fire ground.
Uh, Man,
Uh,
I thank you so much for visiting with me today, man. I just love you, and
Love you
anytime you
too,
need your
Bobby.
tie straightened, I'll straighten your tie any day, little brother.
Thank you.
I'd
That's
be
why I got ties here.
I'd be happy to do it, man.
Yeah, I love you, man. I miss you, and please stay well, my brother. I know you will. You're the strongest guy I know.
Hey, it's just right now. This is gypsy mischief, man. We're gonna get through this. This is nothing. There's nothing.
There
There's
you
nothing.
go.
This country's been hurt a lot worse than this. This,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
this is
I agree.
we'll get through it. We'll figure it out. So we'll figure it out. But I think I just want to thank you again. I mean, you're one of my favorite people in the whole world, for a whole lot
Thanks,
of
Bobby.
reasons. For a whole lot of reasons. And
Thank you. This was fun and you know, sort of impromptu and off the cuff. And again, keep up the good work, brother. We're behind you.
The best stuff in life is impromptu and off the cuff. And I'll tell you, I'll leave you with this one last thought. And it's from Machete. You ever see the movie Machete with the guy, actor, Hispanic actor, great guy. He's got really bad skin, always plays like a really mean guy, long hair, always plays like a biker guy.
Okay.
Reyes, I think his last name's Reyes.
Okay.
Anyway, but he plays the character Machete, always a real tough gangster biker guy, right? So, and Machete was the movie he was in. Google Machete, where you see the guy's pictures.
All right.
So anyway, there was a car accident one day outside of one of his taco restaurants, and in LA that he owns. And he went outside to help get this little girl and her mom out of the car that had gotten jacked up and flipped over, I think. And he had some help. And he's like 70 some odd years old now when he did this. And the guy, you know, is a scary guy in the movies. So anyway, he's got off, and people said, why did you do that? And you know, why did you take those kinds of risks at your age and all this other such stuff? And he said, you know what? The best things that ever happened to me in my life happened to me when I was doing something good for somebody else.
Yeah. Well, listen, you know, good deeds, you know, good
And
deeds,
that's
all
you,
about
man.
good deeds.
You're always doing something good for somebody else. Every time I talk to you, you're like, or somebody will say, who are you doing that with? Oh, Avillo. I'm like, you're kidding me. You couldn't find anybody better? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, people drag me into shit for some reason. I don't know why, but
because you do the work. Because you'll do the work.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. But yeah, I appreciate it, Bobby. I just wanted to throw but before we end, you know, two months ago today was when Ed Flood passed away, and you know, just not a day goes by that I don't think of the guy. He was my mentor, and what you see here on this screen is what that guy made. He made me, and he allowed me to snatch the pebble from his hand. And you know, again, it's the way the fire service works.
Well, we're all blessed.
Leaders multiply.
We're all blessed with the wisdom of our ancestors, and
absolutely.
And I think people need to understand. We need to respect the wisdom of our ancestors, because that is the most important thing in the world, is the collected wisdom of our ancestors. And anybody who believes that some woke nitwit identity politics jackwagon is smarter than the collected wisdom of our ancestors, you're a moron, and you're not a firefighter. So,
that's absolutely
so I don't
right.
know what you're doing listening to this podcast. So anyway,
get out of here.
I'll catch you on the flip side.
Thanks, Bobby. Listen, you be safe.